Antonio Brown made 7 Pro Bowls in his time with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The future Hall of Famer came into the league as a 6th rounder and quickly took the NFL by surprise. Brown was on track to be one of the greatest of all time, but it quickly crashed as he went from NFL receiving touchdowns leader to retired in less than a year due to some of the most insane shenanigans we've ever seen in sports. Today, we're going to talk about the rise and fall of Antonio Brown. Antonio Tavares Brown Sr. was born on July 10, 1988 in Miami, Florida. Brown is the son of Eddie Brown, a former Arena Football League wide receiver who was named the best player in the league's history back in 2006. Brown went to Miami Norland High School where he played both football and track. He was a 2-time Class 6A All-State member and qualified for states twice in track. Brown applied to Florida State after high school but was denied due to his academics. After trying to attend Alcorn State, Brown enrolled at North Carolina Tech Prep after things fell through. Playing quarterback at North Carolina Tech Prep, Brown had 1,247 yards and 11 touchdowns through the air, while rushing for 451 yards and 13 touchdowns. He received a scholarship to attend Florida International University, but was released prior to the season due to an altercation with security. Brown reached out to West Virginia's wide receiver coach, Butch Jones, who recruited him prior. Once Jones became the head coach at Central Michigan, Brown followed and walked on as a freshman. Brown didn't struggle transitioning to the wide receiver position from quarterback, and within weeks at Central Michigan was offered a scholarship. He struggled adapting to college life, but was aided by Zach Azzanni, his wide receivers coach, and quickly became close with Azzanni and his family. Brown was named MAC Freshman of the Year, made second team All-MAC, and led the conference with 102 receptions. He had 1,003 yards and 6 touchdowns on the season. Brown returned to Central Michigan as a sophomore and started in every game, catching 93 passes for 998 yards and 7 scores. He also led the conference in punt return yards with 410 and kick return yards with 791. Brown broke a school record for 110 receptions as a junior, adding 1,198 yards and 9 touchdowns. He currently owns the school record for career receptions. Brown opted to forego his senior season to declare for the 2010 NFL Draft. In his time at Central Michigan, Brown was twice the MAC Special Teams Player of the Year, first team All-MAC, and first team All-American. He was projected to be a 5th or 6th round pick by most analysts. Brown was praised for being extremely productive during his college career and for having a really nice combination of quickness and speed. However, the knock on Brown is the same he's had his whole life: his size. At 5'10", 185 pounds, scouts said Brown lacks size and does not possess enough bulk. After being unsatisfied with his numbers at the NFL Combine, Brown improved during Central Michigan's Pro Day. Brown waited to hear his name called until the 6th round at the draft, when the Pittsburgh Steelers took him 195th overall in the 6th round. The pick was originally owned by the Cardinals, but they opted to trade the pick and cornerback Bryant McFadden for pick 155 in the 5th round, where they took quarterback John Skelton. That might be a decision that the Cardinals want back. It was then when Brown made a decision that made his identity in the NFL, the number 84. Brown opted to wear 84 with the Steelers because 8 times 4 is 32, and 32 teams passed up on him at the draft, those including the Steelers. Brown started his NFL career in a crowded Steelers wide receiver room, which led to him being named the 5th wide receiver on the depth chart. He made his NFL debut in Week 2 against the Titans, where Brown took an 89-yard kickoff to the house to start the game. Brown had his best receiving game in Week 17 against the Browns, catching 4 passes for 52 yards. The Steelers made the playoffs in his rookie year, and in the AFC divisional round against the Ravens, Brown set a career high with 75 yards on 3 receptions. The Steelers made the Super Bowl, where they lost to the Packers 31-25. Brown finished the game with 1 catch and contributed on special teams. He finished his rookie season with 16 receptions for 167 yards. Brown was the Steelers' 3rd-string wide receiver in his 2nd year. It was in 2011 when Antonio Brown went from being unknown to a stud. On the season, Brown broke out and became the first player in league history to have over 1,000 yards returning and over 1,000 yards receiving with 1,108. His best week on the year was in Week 14 against the Browns, where he went for 151 yards and a score on 5 catches. Brown made his first Pro Bowl as a returnman. Prior to the 2012 season, Brown signed a 5-year, $42.5 million extension with the Steelers after his huge breakout sophomore season. Brown ended up being a starter for the Steelers on the year. He did see a step back on the year, mainly due to an ankle injury that caused him to miss 3 games. Appearing in just 13 games in total, Brown made 66 catches for 787 yards and 5 touchdowns. Coming off of a bit of a disappointing season, Brown ended up striking fire and becoming the first player in NFL history to have at least 5 receptions and 50 yards in every game. He dominated in every way. Brown started off the 2014 season with a 116-yard performance off of 5 receptions against the Browns, but that's not why the game is oddly memorable. When returning a punt, Brown tried to hurdle punter Spencer Landing, but instead kicked him in the face mask. The play went viral, and Brown said he didn't mean to, but was still fined $8,200. Brown built on his dominant season the year prior, leading the NFL in receptions with 129 and receiving yards with 1,698. He also finished tied for second in touchdowns with 13. All 3 stats were new Steeler team records. Brown made his 3rd Pro Bowl, was named to his first team All-Pro, and improved to 8th on the NFL's top 100 list. Coming off an insane season, Brown was expected to see some regression, but he never did. Brown continued his dominance, leading the NFL with 136 receptions and had 1,834 yards and 10 touchdowns. He broke a number of league records on the season, those including most yards in a game without a touchdown with 284 against the Raiders, and most games with 175 or more receiving yards in a season with 4. He also became the first player to have 2 16 or more reception games in a single season. Brown made the Pro Bowl, was named first team All-Pro, and moved up to 4th on the NFL top 100 list. There are 2 big things that happened with Brown in the 2015 season. First, Brown made his famous leap onto the goalpost, a touchdown celebration that landed him a lot of media attention and something that he's famous for. It did get him an $11,576 fine though. More importantly, in the playoffs against the Bengals, Brown suffered a concussion after getting hit in the helmet by Vontaze Burfict, a disturbing injury that some believed helped cause the fall of Brown. Brown returned healthy for the 2016 campaign and continued his rampage, finding his way onto the NFL top 10 all-time for career receptions and yards. On the year, Brown made the Pro Bowl and was named a first-team All-Pro once again after posting 106 catches for 1,284 yards and 12 touchdowns. He also got fined twice for twerking after scoring a touchdown. Not relevant, just kind of funny. Brown remained at the 4th spot on the NFL's top 100 list. Prior to the 2017 season, Brown signed a 4-year, $68 million contract extension, making him the NFL's highest-paid wide receiver. Brown had 2 very memorable moments during the season. The first was a ridiculous one-handed touchdown catch where he used his helmet to secure the catch. The other was a tantrum he threw, throwing a cooler of Gatorade and yelling at coaches due to not being thrown the ball on an incomplete play. It wasn't a huge deal at the time, but looking back, it may have been a red flag. Brown accumulated 213 yards against the Ravens in Week 14, marking his 2nd career game with over 200. Brown moved up to 2nd on the NFL top 100 list. Everything seemed normal for Brown and the Steelers heading into the 2018 season. Brown and the struggling Steelers were fighting for a playoff spot late in the year, and in Week 16 lost to the Saints in a game where Brown had 185 yards and 2 touchdowns. The game would surprisingly be his last with the organization. Brown got into an argument with quarterback Ben Roethlisberger and skipped practices prior to Week 17, leading to him being benched against the Bengals, a game the Steelers lost. Brown had 104 catches for 1,297 yards and led the league with 15 touchdowns and made the Pro Bowl. Brown had a drama-filled year with the Steelers, including a situation where he tossed furniture out of his apartment window, nearly hitting a child on the patio below, which he was sued for. Brown was also cited for speeding over 100 miles per hour on a suburban highway. Former Steeler Ryan Clark talked about Brown during a practice in 2014, yelling at then defensive coordinator Dick LeBeau and players saying, "Don't touch me, I'm the franchise." Following the season, Brown requested a trade and, well, the truth came out. Brown was frustrated with his role in the Steelers, which eventually led to him requesting for a trade, but much more was to follow. The Steelers had a deal in place to send Brown to the Bills, but after he protested, the deal fell through. He was eventually traded to the Raiders for a 3rd and 5th round selection in the 2019 NFL Draft. In his introductory press conference, Brown stated, "I'm here to elevate everything around me. I'm here just to be a surge of energy, a positivity, and good force, a great teammate, and to bring out the best of everyone around me, because we all know it's not just about me." Quite a funny quote to look back at now. His crazy drama with the Raiders began when Brown posted a picture of his blistered feet, which had frostbite because he decided not to wear correct footwear during a cryotherapy session. The injury limited him to a single training camp practice with the Raiders, but the situation was one of the less interesting moments in the offseason, those including a hot air balloon ride to start training camp. Brown filed a grievance due to the league not allowing him to wear his old helmet due to safety reasons. He even threatened to retire if he wasn't allowed to wear his old Shut Air Advantage helmet. An arbitrator denied his request, which led to Brown finding a replacement helmet, not retiring. That new helmet also didn't meet the league standards, so Brown filed another grievance, which he also lost. Luckily, Brown ended up finding a helmet he liked, the Zenith Shadow. Due to Brown's multiple absences and missed practice sessions, Raiders general manager Mike Mayock fined him $54,000. Brown then posted the fines on Instagram and the following day confronted Mayock, which led to a verbal altercation where Brown called Mayock a cracker, had to be held back by teammates after threatening to hit Mayock, those teammates including Vontaze Burfict, who gave Brown the concussion years prior, kind of ironic, and Brown later punted a football and told Mayock, "Fine me for that." Well, he did. Brown was fined $215,000 for the altercation and was suspended a game by the team. 2 days later, Brown went to a team meeting and issued an apology. The same day, Brown released a statement saying, "I'm excited to be out here today. I apologize to my teammates and the organization. Enough talk, man. I'm excited to be out here with my teammates. I'm grateful for all the fans. I'm excited to be a part of the Raiders and see you guys soon." He also posted a YouTube video where he had recorded a phone call with head coach John Gruden. Less than 24 hours later, the Raiders voided his guarantee money and Brown demanded his release on Instagram. Brown was released later that day, hours before his 2019 salary would have been guaranteed, and he even posted a video on YouTube of himself celebrating the news of his release. The same day, Brown agreed to a 1-year, $15 million deal with the New England Patriots. A lot of people gave Brown a lot of credit, saying that he planned the release from the Raiders in order to go to the Patriots, something that looks silly looking back at it now. 3 days after signing with the Patriots, Brown was accused of raping his former trainer Brittany Taylor 3 times. Less than a week after that, a female artist accused him of sexual misconduct as well. The same day, Brown's former doctor when he was with the Steelers said Brown farted multiple times in his vicinity, including directly in his face, and sued him for $11,500 in unpaid fees. 3 days later, Nike ended up dropping Brown as a representative for the company. Despite sexual allegations against Brown, he played in week 2 against the Dolphins, catching 4 passes for 56 yards and a score. After additional allegations and sending intimidating texts to one of his accusers, the Patriots decided to cut Brown. Brown announced his retirement from the NFL on September 22, 2019, due to NFL owners releasing him without reason and voiding his contracts, which, let's be real, were all good calls on the owners' behalves. If Antonio Brown's career is indeed over, he will finish his career with 841 catches for 11,263 yards and 75 touchdowns, adding 2,932 yards and 5 touchdowns returning. Brown ranks 28th all-time in receptions and is 34th all-time in both receiving yards and receiving touchdowns, stats that should help the 7-time Pro Bowler make the Hall of Fame. He certainly has good years left at just 31 years old, so I wouldn't be shocked if he did make a return if he can figure out his legal situation. That being said, if it is all said and done, Brown has given us incredible performances and some of the wildest incidents we've seen in the history of football. This has been the rise and fall of Antonio Brown.